The ship was falling apart around him. Marcus Webb held tight to his seat as fire and metal screamed through the air. Red lights flashed everywhere. The computer voice kept saying warning over and over, but Marcus already knew he was in trouble. Big trouble. His small scout ship had been flying near the edge of known space when two alien fleets started fighting each other. Marcus was just passing through. He was not part of their war. But one stray missile hit his engine, and now he was falling toward a moon he had never seen before. The ground came up fast. Too fast. Marcus closed his eyes and thought about his mother back on Earth. He thought about the small house where he grew up, the smell of her cooking, the way she would hum songs while working in the garden. He thought maybe these would be his last thoughts ever. Then everything went black. When Marcus opened his eyes, he was surprised. Surprised because he was still alive. His body hurt everywhere. His head was bleeding. But he was breathing. He was alive. He crawled out of the broken ship. The world around him was strange and beautiful. The trees were purple. The sky was orange with 3 small suns setting in the distance. The air smelled like metal, like old coins. Marcus checked his suit. It was torn. The computer in his helmet said he had 6 hours of oxygen left in his emergency tank. 6 hours. Not much time. Marcus started walking. He did not know where he was going. He just knew he could not stay near the burning ship. Maybe someone would come looking for him? Maybe not? Either way, he needed to find shelter, find water, find something. That was when he heard the sound. It was small and weak. A crying sound. Like a child. Marcus stopped walking. He listened carefully. The sound was coming from somewhere to his left, past some fallen trees. He moved toward it, pushing through the purple leaves and strange flowers. His legs hurt with every step, but he kept going. He found another crashed ship. This one was different from his. It was beautiful, even broken. The metal was silver and gold, with strange writing on the side. It looked expensive. It looked important. The crying was coming from inside. Marcus climbed through the broken door. Inside, everything was a mess. Seats were torn apart. Strange equipment was scattered everywhere. And in the middle of all this destruction, trapped under a heavy piece of metal, was a child. She was not human. Marcus could see that right away. Her skin was silver, like moonlight. Her eyes were huge and dark, like pools of black water. She had small antennae on her head that moved back and forth with fear. She was tiny, maybe the size of a 3-year-old human child, though Marcus could not guess her real age. Her leg was stuck under the metal. She was crying and scared and alone. Marcus did not think. He did not wonder if she was dangerous. He did not worry about what her people might do to him. He just saw a scared child who needed help. He grabbed the metal and pulled. It was heavy, so heavy. His muscles screamed. His back felt like it would break. But he kept pulling. He thought about his mother again, about how she always said that the measure of a person was what they did when no one was watching. No one was watching now. Just him and this tiny alien girl. The metal moved. Just a little at first, then more. Marcus pulled harder than he had ever pulled anything in his life. Finally, with one last effort, he lifted it enough for the girl to slide free. She immediately grabbed onto his leg, crying and shaking. Her small hands held so tight. Marcus knelt down slowly and picked her up. She weighed almost nothing. "It's okay," he said softly. "You're okay now. I've got you." She did not understand his words. He did not understand hers. But somehow, it did not matter. She buried her face in his chest and kept crying, and he held her and let her cry. Marcus looked around. They could not stay here. The ship might explode. Other things might come. Dangerous things. He had seen strange shapes moving in the forest. He had heard sounds that did not belong to any animal he knew. So he started walking again. This time, with the little girl in his arms. The first day was hard. Marcus had very little food. He had even less water. But every time he found something to eat or drink, he gave it to the girl first. She was so small, so scared. She needed it more than he did. The second day was harder. His oxygen was running low. He had to take off his helmet for short times to save it. The air was not poisonous, but it was not good for humans either. It made him dizzy. It made his chest hurt. But he kept walking. That night, something attacked them. A creature from the forest, big and fast with too many teeth. Marcus had no weapon except a broken metal pipe from his ship. He fought the creature with everything he had. He got bitten. He got cut. But he did not let it touch the girl. He screamed and hit and fought until the creature ran away. The girl looked at him with those big, dark eyes. She touched the blood on his arm and made a sad sound. Then she did something Marcus did not expect. She started to sing, a soft, strange song in her alien language. And somehow, it made him feel a little better. The third day, the girl got sick. Her silver skin turned gray. She was hot with fever. Marcus did not know anything about alien medicine. He did not know what to do. So he just held her close and tried to keep her warm. He talked to her all night, even though she could not understand. He told her about Earth. He told her about his family. He sang her the songs his mother used to sing. By the fourth day, Marcus could barely walk. He was hungry, tired, hurt, and running out of hope. But he kept going, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, because giving up meant the girl would die, and he was not going to let that happen. Then he saw the ships in the sky. Big, beautiful ships with silver and gold colors. The same colors as the girl's crashed ship. They were looking for her. They had finally come. Marcus fell to his knees in the purple grass. He held the girl up so they could see her. Here. He tried to shout, but his voice was weak. She's here. The ships landed. Soldiers came out. Tall aliens with silver skin and armor that shone in the light. They pointed weapons at Marcus. They shouted in a language he did not know, but the girl, weak as she was, spoke to them. Whatever she said made them stop. They lowered their weapons. They took her from his arms gently. The last thing Marcus saw before he passed out was her small hand reaching back toward him, and her big dark eyes full of tears. Marcus woke up in a room he did not recognize. The walls were smooth and white. The bed was soft, softer than anything he had ever slept on. There were no windows. There was only one door, and it was locked. He was a prisoner. He understood that right away. But at least he was alive. The room was comfortable. There was food, strange but tasty. There was water that tasted like flowers. There was a small bathroom with a shower that used warm mist instead of water. There was even a courtyard outside his room where he could see the sky and feel the wind on his face. But he could not leave. The door only opened when they wanted it to open. Days passed. Then weeks. Then months. Marcus learned to wait. He learned to be patient. He exercised every day to keep his body strong. He watched the 3 suns rise and set through his small courtyard. He wondered about the little girl. He hoped she was safe. He hoped she was happy. He hoped she had forgotten the scary days in the forest. Sometimes guards would come to check on him. They were tall and silver-skinned, like the girl. They never spoke to him. They just looked at him like he was a strange animal in a cage. Marcus did not blame them. To them, he probably was. After 3 months, someone new came to his room. An older alien, with kind eyes and a gentle voice. This one had a small device that translated his words into English. "I am Scholar Thomas," the alien said. The translation was not perfect, but Marcus could understand. "I have been sent to learn about your species." "My name is Marcus," he replied. "Marcus Webb." "Marcus Webb," the scholar repeated slowly. "I have many questions for you." And so began a strange friendship. Scholar Thomas came every day to talk with Marcus. He asked about Earth, about humans, about their history and culture and beliefs. In return, Marcus asked about the aliens, who called themselves the Villani. He learned their language slowly, word by word. He learned about their empire, which stretched across 12 star systems. He learned that they had lived among the stars for thousands of years, while humans were still building their first spaceships. Marcus also learned something that shocked him. The little girl he had saved was not just any child. She was Princess Lily, the youngest daughter of Empress Violet, the ruler of the entire Villani Empire. She was kidnapped, Scholar Thomas explained one day. Bad people took her. They wanted to use her against the Empress. But then there was a battle in space, and her ship crashed on that moon. "Is she okay now?" Marcus asked. This was all he really wanted to know. "She is safe. She is home with her mother." The scholar paused. "She speaks of you often." Marcus felt his heart warm at those words. "She does?" "Yes. She calls you the warm giant. She says you carried her through fire. She says you fought monsters for her. She says you sang to her when she was sick." The scholar tilted his head, looking at Marcus with curiosity. "Did you really do all these things?" "I did what anyone would do," Marcus said simply. "No," the scholar replied, just like the Empress would say years later. "No, Marcus Webb. Others would not. This is what makes your species so confusing to us." Months turned into years. Marcus remained in his comfortable prison. He was not tortured. He was not treated badly. The Villani simply did not know what to do with him. Humans were supposed to be primitive and dangerous. But this human had saved their princess. They could not just kill him. They could not let him go. So they kept him, and they waited out far away in the great palace of the Villani Empire. A little princess was growing up. She was no longer the scared child who cried in a broken ship. She was learning to be royal. She was learning languages and history and how to behave like a proper princess. But every night, before she slept, she asked her mother the same question. "Where's the warm giant? Is he okay? When can I see him again?" Empress Violet did not have good answers. She was a powerful ruler, but this situation troubled her. Everything she had been taught said that humans were not to be trusted. They were wild, violent, and dangerous. The Villani had avoided contact with Earth for generations, but her daughter was alive because of a human. Her daughter loved this human like family. How could she ignore that? The Empress began to study humans in secret. She read reports from scouts who had observed Earth from far away. She watched recordings of human behavior. And slowly, her understanding began to change. She saw humans risk their lives to save strangers from burning buildings. She saw them adopt orphan children from other countries, other cultures. She saw them form deep bonds with animals, with machines, with anything that showed them affection. She saw them fight wars over ideas like freedom and justice. Humans were not what she had believed. They were not simple or primitive. They were complicated, emotional, unpredictable, and strangely, beautifully caring in ways the Villani had never imagined. Still, she could not decide what to do with Marcus Webb. The council wanted him kept locked away forever. Some wanted him killed. Only a few voices suggested that maybe, just maybe, humans could be useful allies. In his room, Marcus continued to wait. He did not know about the debates happening far away. He did not know that his fate was being discussed by the most powerful beings in 12-star systems. He only knew that each day, he woke up, exercised, ate, studied the Villani language, and tried to stay hopeful. Sometimes, late at night, he would look up at the strange stars through his courtyard and wonder if anyone on Earth was looking for him. He wondered if his mother knew he was alive. He wondered if he would ever see home again. But mostly, he wondered about Lily. He hoped she was growing up happy. He hoped she had good friends and a loving family. He hoped she did not have nightmares about the crash. He hoped she knew that saving her was the best thing he had ever done. 2 years passed like this. 2 long, quiet years of waiting and hoping and not knowing. Marcus began to think he would spend the rest of his life in this comfortable cage. Then everything changed. War was coming. A new enemy had appeared, one that threatened both the Vellani Empire and Earth itself. The Dominion of Krath was moving across the galaxy, destroying everything in its path. Old alliances were crumbling. Old enemies were becoming friends. And suddenly, the Vellani needed something they had never needed before. They needed humans. The Dominion of Krath came without warning. They were not like other enemies the Vellani had faced before. They did not want land or power or treasure. They wanted destruction. Pure and simple destruction. They moved from planet to planet, star system to star system, leaving nothing but ash and silence behind them. The Vellani Empire had been strong for thousands of years. They had the best technology in the galaxy. They had ships that could cross star systems in days. They had weapons that could destroy moons. But against the Dominion of Krath, none of it was enough. Battle after battle, the Vellani lost. Their great fleets were burned. Their proud soldiers were defeated. Allies who had promised to stand with them ran away at the first sign of danger. Within 1 year, the Empire lost half of its territory. Empress Violet watched her civilization fall apart. She had ruled wisely and well for many years. But wisdom and good rule were not enough against an enemy that did not care about treaties or negotiations or anything except killing. Her advisors were desperate. Her generals were tired. Her people were scared. Something had to change, or everything would be lost. Then one old advisor, a wise woman named Grace, stood before the council and said something shocking. "We must contact the humans." The room exploded with arguments. Humans? Those primitive creatures from that small blue planet? They had only been traveling in space for a few hundred years. They were violent and unpredictable and strange. How could they possibly help against the Dominion of Krath? But Grace was calm. "I have studied the humans," she said. "They are not what we believe. Yes, they are violent. But they are violent in a way that could help us. They do not give up. They do not know when they are beaten. They fight and fight and fight until they win or until they die. And sometimes, against all logic, they win when they should have died." The council argued for days. But in the end, they had no choice. All other options had failed. They would reach out to Earth and ask for help. The humans said yes. 3 months later, a delegation from the United Earth Coalition was scheduled to arrive at the Imperial Palace. The entire court prepared for this important day. Everything had to be perfect. This alliance could save the Empire or doom it. Princess Lily, now 7 years old, stood beside her mother's throne. She wore heavy ceremonial robes that made her feel like she was wrapped in curtains. She had been told to be quiet and dignified. She had been told to stand still and look like a proper princess. She had practiced for weeks, but Lily was not thinking about being proper. She was thinking about something her teacher had mentioned 2 days ago. The teacher had said that one of the human delegates was a military commander who had once been a prisoner of the Vellani, a pilot who had crashed on a distant moon years ago. Lily's heart had been beating fast ever since. Could it be? After all these years? The great doors of the throne room opened. Vellani nobles in their finest clothes lined both sides of the room. Musicians played soft, formal music. Everything was elegant and controlled, just as Vellani ceremonies should be. the humans walked in. They were tall, taller than Lily had expected. They wore dark uniforms with bright medals on their chests. They moved with confidence, like they belonged here, even though they were visitors in a strange place. Lily looked at each face carefully. Her hands were shaking under her heavy robes. Her antennae moved back and forth with anxiety, even though she tried to keep them still. Then she saw him. He was in the front of the group. He was older now, with some gray in his hair and new lines on his face. He wore the uniform of a commander. He walked with the same straight back, the same calm eyes, the same gentle strength that she remembered from her dreams. Thought it was him. The warm giant. The man who had carried her through fire, who had fought monsters for her, who had sung to her when she was sick and scared and alone. Lily forgot everything she had learned about being proper. She forgot about the ceremony and the nobles and the importance of this moment for the entire empire. She forgot about being a princess. She grabbed her mother's arm and whispered, her voice shaking with emotion, "Mom." That's him. The entire palace fell into stunned silence. Empress Violet looked down at her daughter, then at the human commander who had stopped walking. The whole room was frozen, waiting, not knowing what was happening. Then Lily did something that shocked everyone. She ran. She ran down the steps from the throne, her heavy robes flying behind her, her small feet making loud sounds on the marble floor. She ran past the nobles, past the guards, past all the rules and traditions that said a princess should never do such things. She ran straight to Marcus Webb and threw her arms around his legs. "You came back," she cried, speaking in perfect English. She had learned it over the years, just in case. Just hoping for this moment. "You came back. You came back." Marcus stood very still for a moment. Then, slowly, he knelt down on the marble floor. His uniform touched the ground. His medals clinked softly. He did not care about looking proper or military. He looked at the small silver face, at the big dark eyes filled with tears, at the little girl he had carried through hell 5 years ago. "Hey there, little one," he said softly. His voice was thick with emotion. "You got big." Lily hugged him tighter, crying and laughing at the same time. Marcus hugged her back, his big human arms wrapping around her small Vellani body. For a moment, there was nothing else in the universe except the two of them. The court did not know what to do. Guards looked at each other nervously. Nobles whispered behind their hands. Some looked angry. Some looked confused. Some, the older ones who had seen many things in their long lives, looked touched. Then Empress Violet began to walk down from her throne. Everyone became quiet again. The most powerful being in 12 star systems moved slowly across the room, her long robes trailing behind her, her face impossible to read. She stopped in front of Marcus, who was still kneeling, still holding her daughter. "Stand up." "Commander Webb," she said. Marcus stood slowly, keeping one hand on Lily's shoulder. He looked directly at the Empress, not with fear, but with respect. He had spent 2 years as her prisoner. He had survived alone on a dangerous moon. He had faced death more times than he could count. He was not going to be afraid of this moment. "You saved my daughter," the Empress said. "I did what anyone would do," Marcus replied. The same words he had said to Scholar Thomas years ago. The Empress was silent for a long moment. The whole room held its breath. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, just a tiny lift at the corners of her mouth. But for those who knew her, it was like a sunrise after a long night. "No, Commander Webb," she said. "You did what a human would do. And that, I am beginning to understand, is something very special indeed." She extended her hand in the human custom she had studied. Marcus took it and shook it gently. "Welcome to the Vellani Empire," she said. "I believe we have much to discuss." And with those words, history changed forever. The formal ceremony was forgotten. No one cared about the planned speeches or the carefully prepared rituals. Instead, the humans and Villani moved to a smaller room where they could talk like real people, not like statues playing parts. Princess Lily refused to leave Marcus's side. She held his hand and looked up at him with those big dark eyes, as if afraid he would disappear if she let go. Marcus did not mind. He had thought about this little girl every day for 5 years. Having her close felt right. Empress Violet watched them together, and something in her heart shifted. She had spent her whole life learning that emotions were weakness, that rulers must be cold and logical. But seeing her daughter so happy, so completely happy for the first time in years, made her question everything she had been taught. "Tell me about humans," she said to Marcus. "Not the reports, not the studies. Tell me what your people are really like." Marcus thought for a moment. "How do you explain your entire species to someone from another world?" "We are complicated," he said finally. "We fight wars over stupid things. We hurt each other for no good reason. We make the same mistakes over and over again." He paused. "But we also love with our whole hearts. We protect the weak. We adopt the lost. We never, ever give up on the people we care about." "Even strangers?" the Empress asked. "Your people risk their lives for strangers?" "All the time," Marcus said. "A house catches fire, and neighbors run in to save people they never met. A child falls in a river, and strangers jump in to help. It's just what we do. We can't help it." The Empress was quiet for a long time. In Villani culture, such behavior would be considered irrational, even foolish. Resources were limited. Logic said to protect your own family, your own tribe, your own species. Why waste energy on strangers? But humans did not follow this logic. They saved strangers. They adopted orphans from other lands. They formed bonds with animals that could never pay them back. They were inefficient and emotional and completely impossible to predict. And maybe, the Empress thought, that was exactly what the galaxy needed right now. "We are losing this war," she admitted. It was hard to say those words out loud. The Dominion of Krath does not negotiate. They do not want peace. They want only destruction. Our best strategies have failed. Our strongest fleets have fallen. "Then let us help," Marcus said simply. "Your technology is less advanced than ours. Your ships are slower. Your weapons are weaker. How can you possibly help?" Marcus smiled. It was a strange smile, almost sad but also proud. "Because we don't know when to quit. Your people, with respect, fight logically. You calculate odds. You retreat when the numbers say you should. You conserve resources for another day. That is wise," the Empress said. "That is safe," Marcus corrected. "Humans don't fight safe. When we decide something matters, we throw everything we have at it. We don't count the cost. We don't measure the odds. We just keep going until we win or until there's nothing left of us. That sounds like madness. Maybe it is. But sometimes madness wins when wisdom fails." The alliance was not signed that day in a grand ceremony. It was signed in a garden behind the palace, with Princess Lily sitting on Marcus's shoulders and laughing as she tried to touch the purple leaves of an alien tree. The Empress signed for the Villani Empire. Admiral Stone, the leader of the human delegation, signed for the United Earth Coalition. When the signatures were done, Lily clapped her hands with joy. "Now we're family," she announced. "The Warm Giant is officially my uncle." Marcus looked at the Empress, worried he had somehow offended her. But she was smiling again, that small soft smile that meant more than any grand gesture. "She has decided," the Empress said. "And my daughter, I have learned, is very stubborn when she decides something. I wonder where she gets that from, Marcus said. And for the first time, the Empress laughed. It was a real laugh, warm and genuine, and the advisors nearby looked at each other in shock. Some of them had worked for her for 50 years and never heard of. Over the next few weeks, the alliance took shape. Human military advisors came to study Vellani tactics. Vellani scientists shared technology with human engineers. Two species that had never worked together before began to learn each other's strengths and weaknesses. It was not easy. There were arguments and misunderstandings. Vellani thought humans were too emotional, too chaotic, too loud. Humans thought Vellani were too cold, too rigid, too stuck in their ways. More than once, meetings ended with people storming out angry, but they kept trying, because the Dominion of Krath was still out there, still destroying, still coming closer every day. They had no choice but to make this work. Marcus became a bridge between the two worlds. He understood both species now. He could explain human thinking to confused Vellani. He could calm down frustrated human officers who did not understand alien customs. He worked harder than he had ever worked in his life, and always Princess Lily was nearby. She had appointed herself his official helper. She brought him food when he forgot to eat. She reminded him to sleep when he worked too late. She translated when the language got too complicated. "You'd take care of everyone," she told him one night when he was almost falling asleep at his desk. "But who takes care of you?" "I don't need taking care of," Marcus said. "Everyone needs taking care of," Lily replied firmly. "That's what family is for." She put a blanket over his shoulders and sat beside him, her small silver hand holding his big human one. Within minutes, Marcus was asleep, and Lily stayed there all night, watching over the man who had once watched over her. Across the galaxy, the Dominion of Krath continued its march of destruction. They had heard about the new alliance. They were not impressed. What could a dying empire and a young species possibly do against them? They would soon find out. The first joint battle was coming. Human ships and Vellani ships would fight side by side for the first time in history. Everything they had built, everything they had learned together, would be tested. Marcus looked at the star map showing enemy positions. The odds were not good. Any logical calculation said they should retreat and wait for a better opportunity. But humans did not fight logical. And Marcus had no intention of retreating. "We're going to win," he told his team. "I don't care what the numbers say. We're going to win because we have something they don't." "What's that?" a young Vellani officer asked. Marcus smiled. "Hope and pure human stubbornness. Trust me, there's no force in the galaxy more powerful than that." The battle was coming. The fate of two species hung in the balance. And Marcus Webb, the man who had once carried a scared little girl through fire, was ready to carry the hopes of billions. The war against the Dominion of Krath lasted 3 years. 3 long, terrible, bloody years. There were moments when it seemed like all was lost. There were battles that should have been impossible to win. There were sacrifices that would be remembered for generations. But in the end, against all logic, the Alliance won. The first joint battle had been a disaster. Half the fleet was destroyed in the first hour. The Vellani wanted to retreat, to save what ships they had left. Every calculation said that staying was suicide. Marcus refused to leave. "There are civilian ships behind us," he said over the communication system. "Families, children. If we run, they die." His voice was calm but firm. Humans don't run when children are in danger. We never have. We never will. Something changed in that moment. The Vellani officers looked at this human, this strange, stubborn creature who was willing to die for people he had never met. They did not understand it, but they respected it. They stayed. They fought. And against all odds, they won. After that battle, word spread through the galaxy. The humans were crazy. The humans were fearless. The humans would stand and fight when everyone else ran away. More species joined the alliance. More fleets came to help. The tide of the war began to turn. Marcus led mission after mission. He became famous not for being the strongest or the smartest, but for being the one who never gave up. When things looked hopeless, he found another way. When his soldiers were tired and scared, he stood with them and gave them strength. Princess Lily followed the war from the safety of the palace. She was too young to fight, but she helped in other ways. She visited hospitals where wounded soldiers recovered. She wrote letters to troops on distant ships. She gave speeches that reminded people why they were fighting. "My Uncle Marcus," she would say, using the title she had given him, always told me that the measure of a person is what they do when no one is watching. But I think it's also what they do when everyone is watching. When the whole galaxy is scared, when it seems like darkness will win, do you stand up and fight? Or do you hide? Her words inspired millions. She was just a child, but she spoke with a wisdom beyond her years. People who had never met her felt connected to her. She became a symbol of hope. The final battle of the war took place above a planet called New Dawn. The Dominion of Krath had gathered their remaining forces for one last attack. If they won, the alliance would be finished. If they lost, the war would be over. Marcus commanded the Central Fleet. He was tired. He had barely slept in weeks. His body ached from old wounds that never fully healed. But when he looked at the enemy ships filling the sky, he did not feel fear. He felt something he could not quite name. Purpose, maybe? Or peace. "This is Commander Webb to all ships," he said. "I know you're tired. I know you're scared. I am too. But I want you to remember something. Every single one of you has someone waiting for you. Someone who loves you. Someone who needs you to come home." He paused, thinking of Lily, of his mother back on Earth, of all the people he had fought beside over the years. We fight for them today. Not for glory. Not for power. For the people we love. That's what makes us strong. That's what makes us human. And that's why we're going to win. The battle was fierce. Ships exploded on both sides. Friends died. Heroes were made. At one point, Marcus's own ship was hit, and he had to transfer command to a damaged cruiser that could barely fly. But they kept fighting. Human stubbornness and Vellani skill working together as one. They pushed and pushed until the Dominion of Krath had nowhere left to go. When the enemy finally surrendered, the entire galaxy celebrated. On every planet, in every space station, people cheered and cried and hugged each other. The darkness had been defeated. The light had won. Marcus did not celebrate. He was too tired. He sat alone in his broken ship, looking at the stars, thinking about everyone they had lost. The cost of victory had been so high, but then a communication came through. It was Lily, her face appearing on his screen, tears streaming down her silver cheeks. "Uncle Marcus," she said, her voice breaking. "You did it. You saved everyone." "We did it," Marcus corrected her. "All of us together." "Come home," she said. "Please come home." And for the first time in 3 years, Marcus Webb smiled. The years after the war were years of healing. The alliance became permanent, growing into the interstellar compact that would govern the galaxy for centuries to come. Humans and Vellani, once strangers, became partners and friends. Marcus retired to a small planet on the border between human and Vellani space. He built a simple house with a garden, just like the one his mother had back on Earth. He grew vegetables and watched sunsets and finally learned how to rest. Princess Lily grew up to become one of the most important diplomats in the galaxy. She worked to strengthen the bonds between species, to make sure the alliance her uncle had helped build would last forever. When she spoke at great assemblies, she always mentioned the man who had carried her through fire when she was small. Every year, on the anniversary of that long-ago crash, a royal shuttle would land in Marcus's yard. Lily would step out, no longer a child, but a graceful young woman, and they would sit on his porch together. "Tell me the story again," she would say, just like she did when she was little. And Marcus would smile and begin the tale of a crashed ship, a scared little girl, and a choice that changed everything. One day, Lily was asked to address the Galactic Assembly about human-Volani relations. Thousands of delegates from hundreds of species watched as she walked to the center of the great chamber. "I am often asked," she began, "what makes humans special? They are not the strongest species. They are not the most intelligent. They do not have the best technology or the longest history. So why have they become so important to our galaxy?" She paused, looking out at the assembled delegates. "I will tell you a story. When I was a small child, I was lost and alone on a dangerous planet. A human found me. He did not know who I was. He did not know that saving me would lead to anything. He was hurt and hungry and running out of time. The logical thing was to save himself." Her voice grew stronger, but he did not do the logical thing. "He carried me for 3 days through danger and pain. He gave me his food. He fought monsters to protect me. He sang to me when I was sick. He did all of this for a stranger, for a child of a species that had locked his people out of the stars." The chamber was completely silent. That is what makes humans special. They do not calculate the value of a life before deciding to save it. They simply save it. And then they wonder why we find them remarkable. Lily smiled, thinking of an old man in a garden, watching sunsets, finally at peace. "My Uncle Marcus taught me that the smallest act of kindness can change the universe. One person carrying one child through fire. That is how history is made. Not by empires or armies, but by ordinary people who choose to be good. When it would be easier to walk away." She lifted her hand in the human gesture of farewell that Marcus had taught her so long ago. "To all the ordinary people out there who choose kindness every day, thank you. You are the real heroes. You always have been." The assembly rose in applause. But Lily was not listening. She was thinking of a purple forest and 3 setting suns, of strong arms carrying her to safety, of a voice singing lullabies in a language she did not understand. Some stories, she knew, did not need a grand ending. They just needed to be remembered, and this one would be remembered forever.